12 teacher tips for your Google Calendar. Let's jump into it with another flipped classroom tutorial. Now in this video, I'm going to give you 12 tips to take control of your Google Calendar, organize all your events, reminders and tasks, and really save time. Now Google Calendar can be an incredibly powerful tool for any teacher to use, and you can really utilize it to not only be more productive, but also to save time, have clear communication, and make sure that everyone is aware of the events and other things you need to remember. Now, we're going to jump into our Google Calendar. If you do not have access to this yet, sign into your Google account, go to the top menu where you see those 9 dots, and there you can find the Google Calendar. I'm in my blank Google Calendar. Now, as you can see here, everything is empty, so let's set it up together. Tip number 1, you do not need to create a new calendar for everything you're adding. So here on the left-hand side, you will see when I scroll down, I have a number of different calendars. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the calendars that I need, but no more than that. So for example, I can see there is a calendar here that says demo class. This was pulled in from Google Classroom. I don't need this calendar. I can either click on this X or I can jump into the settings. Here we are going to select settings. Scrolling all the way down to the settings of our calendar, I can unsubscribe and remove this calendar from my view, or I can delete the calendar altogether. I'm going to unsubscribe. That means that other people that have subscribed to this calendar will still have access. Let's go ahead and remove that. Now when I go back to my main view, it is no longer here. Let's do that with the other two. We're going to remove this one. Let's unsubscribe, and this one, unsubscribe. Now we have our main calendar linked to our account. Right here you can see it says SETI Teacher 1 MS EduFlip. It's a demo account. Let's rename this calendar. So we're going to click on the 3 dots and go into our settings. Now renaming your calendars is always really good practice because it helps you stay organized, and it also makes sure that you're not confusing the different calendars. So we'll call this one the events. So we're going to say SETI events calendar, main events. Once you've done that, you can go and exit. It automatically saves these settings. Okay, in order for us to add a calendar, we're going to click on the plus, and then we're going to create a new calendar. Create a new calendar. We're going to call this personal events. SETI, create that calendar. So now we have our events calendar. This will be my professional calendar, everything to do with my job. And then we have our personal events. This has to do with my own events outside of school. Now, I would highly recommend that you limit the number of calendars to maybe 2, 3, but no more than that, because it can get quite confusing. And that brings us to tip number 2, color code your calendars as well as your events. Having a different color for each calendar will make it much easier to stay focused and to see which calendar your different events belong to. So let's color code our calendars. This is my professional calendar for school, and so I'm going to click on the 3 dots and then select a different color. School, let's select the red color, tomato. We're going to select a different color for our personal calendar as well. So let's hover over the personal events, click on the 3 dots, and let's make this calendar blue. All good? We can continue and start creating some events. So let's quickly pop in a couple of events onto my calendar. Tomorrow, I'll have a meeting from 10 till 11, and this is a school meeting. So let's say meeting with year 2. We are going to make sure that we have the correct calendar selected. So here at the bottom, you can see events calendar. If I wanted to make this a personal event, I can always change it to personal events, but it is a professional event, so let's leave it there. We're going to click on save. Let's put another meeting in here. We're going to put one in on Thursday, let's say from 11 till 12. Again, make sure it's part of the correct calendar, meeting with year 3. There we go. And then we do the same on Friday. We are going to have a meeting with year 4. Save. These are 3 different events, and these events are part of my professional calendar. So let's quickly speed things up and let's pop a couple of events onto this calendar. All our professional or school related events are part of the school calendar, therefore red, and personal events or private events are blue, part of a different calendar. But that's not all. You can also color code individual events without removing them from the relevant calendar. So let's do that. Here, I want to highlight which of these are meetings and which of these are planning meetings. So let's right click on this event here where it says planning, right click on that and give it a different color. I'm going to select yellow. We are going to change this for this and all following events. So let's click on OK. And that color has now been changed. Now you can still see that red little stripe there, and that's because it's part of the red calendar. And so this way you can really organize your calendar visually, add some colors, and make it easy to immediately see which events are what. So here I'm going to change my lunch as well. Let's make the lunch green. There we go. We're going to change that for all events. All my lunch times have been turned green. This is another planning meeting, so we're going to also select yellow. And the same can be done for the other calendar. So here we have running and responding to emails. Now responding to emails is work related, running is exercise, and therefore let's give these a different color. I'm going to right click on responding to emails and select a dark blueberry blue color. We're going to do that for all events. And now we have those two different shades. We have this dark blue and lighter blue for my personal calendar. This way you can really organize that calendar and make sure that you never miss an event. Tip number 3, set up your working hours and location. Now, if you want to make sure that everyone knows your working hours, when you are available, and where you will be working, at home, online, or at work, well, you can set this up in Google Calendar. Let's do that together. We're going to jump into our settings. So here in my settings, I'm going to go in, click on settings, and find my working hours and location. Now, in order to do that, I have to scroll down. So we're going to scroll down until we see working hours. Here we go, working hours and location. You can go ahead and enable working hours as well as the working location. Here we can now select our working hours and location. So let's say that every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we are going to work from 7 in the morning. Let's just change that to 7 till 4 in the evening. If we want to copy this over, we can click on copy to all, and that time will automatically be copied over to the other days. We can also set our working location. So on Monday, I work from home. We're going to click on home, and then on the other days, I will work from the office or school. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, this is perfect for those hybrid situations where you have some days in school, other days at home, and maybe some days that you are working at a different location. We now have our working location as well as our working hours. So let's go back to the calendar and see what that looks like. Here in our calendar, at the top, you will see that we have that location, office, 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 home. You can see as we go to the following week, again, we see home, office, 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 home. You can always click on that, and when you click on it, you can change the location. You can go into the settings, or you can say somewhere else. And when you click on somewhere else, well, then you can add in your own location. So for example, here we will say this is not at the office, but it's at a sister school. So we're going to type in sister school. Mondays at a sister school, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the main school, and then Fridays at home. This way you can make sure that everyone knows where you will be located. You can also keep track of where you have to be by keeping track of your calendar. Now, because we've turned on working hours, when people try to schedule events with us, they will be notified it's outside of our working hours. Let's see this in action. I'm going to open up a second demo account, and let's go ahead and schedule in an event that falls after our working hours. So we're going to ask to meet with this person between 7 and 8 p.m. Going to add meeting on calendar, and let's add our guest. We're going to add in that demo account. Now, because this is outside of my working hours, they see this little icon here that says outside working hours. On the main calendar view, they can also see that this is all grayed out, and that's because this is outside of the set working hours. They can then click on suggested times and see all the times that I am available within those working hours. So let's select a different time. We're going to select 7 a.m. There we go, it is placed onto the calendar. They can see my other events, and we'll talk about that more later, but this way they can find a time that works for us. Once they are ready to send out this event, they will click on save, and then they can either send or not send an invitation. I'm not going to send that right now. Back in my other demo account, you will see that that meeting has now been placed right here in the morning. And when I click on that, I can RSVP. I can let them know if I'm attending by clicking on yes, if I'm not attending by saying no, or maybe. I'm going to click on yes. This is part of my professional calendar, therefore it is red. Now another thing I can do is I can right click on this event and I can say yes, I will be there, but I will be joining virtually. And this is something that has come to Calendar recently, where you can inform people if you're going to be there virtually or in person. So that's a great addition. Which brings us to tip number 4, and that is that not everything is an event. On your calendar we have events, but we also have reminders and tasks. And sometimes we're creating events when really we should be creating a reminder. So here I want to be reminded on Wednesday to bring a document to this meeting on calendar. So in the evening, I will set a reminder. I would like this reminder to come at 6 p.m. So we're going to set it to 6. And instead of creating our event here, first thing we do is we select reminder. So when I click on reminder, you will see there are less options there, but that's because this is not an event. We're not inviting people, it's a reminder. So let's remind, bring books to meeting. There we go. We are going to bring those books to the meeting, bring books to meeting, and then we can choose to repeat this or not. I'm not going to repeat it and click on save. Now you'll immediately see this has a different color, and that is because it is part of a different calendar. That calendar can be seen here on the left-hand side, reminders. If you do not see the reminder option whenever creating an event or a reminder, it's because that calendar has not been turned on yet. So here, let's just turn this calendar off. Let's try to create a reminder. You will see that reminders is not an option at the top. So first you'll have to turn on those reminders, and then you can create reminders by selecting reminder instead of event. In addition to that, you also have tasks. Now tasks, they integrate with a separate application, Google Tasks, and this is your to-do list. So here on the right-hand side, you will see we have tasks, but you can also just simply put it onto your calendar and select tasks here. A task gives you an added description box, and you can add it to different task lists. Now these lists, they are all pulled in from Google Tasks, which is a separate application. Now I have a video on Google Tasks as well. You'll see it in the cards at the top. And so using reminders instead of events will really benefit you because those reminders are also sent to your mobile device. Another great thing is, if you don't action your reminders today or when they were set, they will simply remind you again the following day. And so these do not disappear, and it's a great way of making sure you don't forget anything. Which brings us to tip number 5, check the default settings for your calendar. So let's jump into the settings. In our settings, we're going to click on settings and find the default settings. What are the defaults? Well, here we have default languages, regions, as well as different ways that our events are set. So these defaults can be changed. As you can see, the default duration is 60 minutes. I can change that to 30 minutes. And then from now on, every event, whenever I click on my calendar, will be 30 minutes. You can manually schedule this out to be longer or shorter, but the default will really speed up adding events to your calendar. Another default to check is how you deal with guests. So here we have our default guest permission. That is that guests can invite others as well as see that guest list. But what I like to use is a modify event. Our guests can change the event, suggest changes to it. That's a default setting. If you are dealing with students and you don't want that to happen, well then you can invite guests and not let them modify the event. You can even turn off invite others, and then they cannot change that guest list. Now changing these defaults can really save you time when setting up events and calendar reminders. Tip number 6, take control of the notifications. Every event can get multiple notifications or no notifications at all. So here, when I go to my events, let's create a new event. I'm going to create an event tomorrow from 3 to 4 p.m. This is an important event, and we are going to dive into our more options. Diving into more options gives us a lot more to work with, and so let's add some notifications. Here you will see that by default, it says I will get a notification 10 minutes before the event. Now I do want to keep that, but I also want to add an additional notification. When I click on Add Notification, I can select Email. And so I can send an email to myself one day before the event takes place. Changing these notifications really helps you keep track of upcoming events that you really cannot miss. So let's click on Save. Tip number 7, get an agenda emailed to you each and every day. Automatically get that agenda in your inbox telling you what's coming the next day. Well, that too is possible in Gmail. So first things first, think about the calendar you would like to get an agenda for. Right here, I'm going to request an agenda for my professional calendar, the red colored calendar if you remember. Let's go into our settings and we're going to click on Settings. Now on the left-hand side, you're not going to stay in the general settings. You're going to close that and go to the settings for your calendar. This is a specific setting for a specific calendar. Let's select our professional calendar. And here, scrolling down, we will have the option to get a special notification. So under Other Notifications, I can change the settings for when I get notified. The one I'm looking for is the daily agenda. Here, I can select Email. This will now automatically email me a daily agenda for this calendar. So let's leave that as it is. Tip number 8, add your time zones. If you are working as an expat teacher or you have connections with people in other countries, or maybe your professional learning network is located in various different time zones, and it's important for you to know what time it is whenever you're scheduling these events. Well, Google Calendar lets us add multiple time zones. Let's do that now. We're going to jump into our setting, click on Settings, and now under General Settings, we can add a time zone. So select time zone, and then here we're going to tick display a secondary time zone. The first we're going to label home, and then the second one can get the label of a different time. So let's say New York, and then let's select the time zone for New York. So we're going to scroll all the way down and find New York. There we go, Eastern Time, New York. These labels will be visible on our calendar. So let's see what that looks like. On our main calendar view, on the left-hand side now, we have those time zones. So here on the right-hand side, we see our home time zone, and then we also see New York. You can change the labels of these time zones to be whatever you'd like them to be. Tip number 9, add Google Meet and breakout rooms for those virtual events. So let's create an event. Friday, I'm going to hold an event. It's going to be from 2 to 3 p.m. And this is going to be a virtual meetup. So we're going to say virtual meet, and let's add some guests. We're going to add in a couple of demo accounts. There we go. Let's add in some student demo accounts as well. We now have a total of 4 people in this meeting. Let's scroll down and let's click on Add Google Meet Conferencing. When I click on that, it automatically generates a Google Meet link. This will be visible to all attendees of this meeting. But what else you can do is jump into the settings of this meeting. So when we click on this cogwheel here, we go to the video call options. Here we can enable or disable quick access. Now, if you have breakout rooms, then you will see that you can also set up your breakout rooms. Now, if your domain is part of Workspace Plus, then you will also be able to set up breakout rooms. Here is an example of the view of a domain that does have breakout rooms activated, and so we have an additional screen, breakout rooms. When we click on that, we can change the number of rooms we would like to use, as well as the different names of the rooms and who is in each room. Once this is saved, it will be stored, and then when you activate your breakout rooms, everyone will be allocated to the correct breakout rooms. And yes, you can also add Zoom meetings and Microsoft Teams meetings. Now, in order to do that, you will have to install the add-ons. So let's do it together. Here on the right-hand side, you will see a plus icon. Let's click on that. We are going to install both the Zoom and Microsoft Teams add-ons. So here we can add Zoom for G Suite. Once we've installed Zoom for G Suite, we can start adding Zoom meetings. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you have to go through all the permissions for this add-on, but once ready, you can start using it. Now that Zoom has been installed, on the right-hand side, I have this Zoom icon. I can click on that and log into my Zoom account. As you can see here on the right-hand side, that account is logged in, and you will get an overview of all your upcoming Zoom meetings. Now, when I'm creating an event, I can select Zoom. So let's do that. We're going to create a short meetup here. Let's make this part of our personal events, and let's call it Zoom Virtual Meetup. Now, because I've installed that add-on, instead of having the button Add Google Meet Video Conferencing, I also have this drop-down arrow. So let's click on that, and we're going to add a Zoom meeting. This automatically creates the Zoom meeting, and then this information will be shared with whoever you invite as a guest. So let's go ahead and click on Save. Now this Zoom meetup, when we go in, you will see that this has a Zoom meeting already right there. We have the ID and also the passcode. So this is a way of creating Zoom meetings from inside your Google Calendar. Let's do the same for Microsoft Teams. We're going to go back to this plus and install the Microsoft Teams add-on. Here we can already see it, Microsoft Teams meeting. Let's install the add-on. And as you can see, Teams has now been added on the right-hand side. You can log in, you can then select Teams as your preferred platform. Tip 11, you can add attachments to any event you create on your Google Calendar. And because you've added them onto the event, every attendee will get access to these documents. So let's jump into this virtual meet event, and let's say that I want to add some attachments as well. Well, I'm going to click on Edit, and then here, scrolling down in that description box, I can add attachments. So let's add an attachment. We're going to click on that, and we can select a file from our Google Drive. Now we can also select a file that we would like to upload by going to Upload and selecting the file. I'm going to add this random text file. Let's just add this into our event, select and save the event. We're going to not send an update. And we are asked to share this file. Make sure that all the attendees, all the guests have the correct permissions. Here it says share with one person, give them viewing, commenting or editing rights. I'm going to select view and then click on invite. When they jump into the Google Meet, they will see it as an attachment, and they can also access that file right from the event on their Google Calendar. And then finally, tip number 12, add week numbers. Here at the top, you can see we have September, October, Sunday, Monday. I would like to add some week numbers there because that really helps me plan. If you are like me, then you are adding week numbers to your lesson plans, to your Google Classroom. So adding week numbers to our calendar can really help us. Go into settings, and scrolling down, we will have the option to add week numbers. Here you will see the third option is to show week numbers. Let's go ahead and click this and return to our calendar. Now at the top you will see it clearly displays that week. This is week 39. I can move ahead, week 40. If you are looking at the month view, then you will also see those week numbers here on the left hand side. So you can see 39, 40, 41. I'm going to stay in the week view. Now, I hope you found this helpful. If you want even more tips and tricks on how you can be more productive and how you can organize yourself, I have an entire video on Inbox Zero, and that video will show you how you can spend zero time in your inbox, or at least as close to zero as possible. So make sure that you click on that video, and I will see you in the next one.